After spending 12 years with medical specialists and sickening drug side effects, my next guest decided that there must be some other way to be healed. She's here tonight to share her story of trials and triumph. Meet Raquel Martin. Welcome to Talk of the Town.
Thank you.
Now, you had this pain, or the pain started right after the birth of your child, right?
Yes, it started as just a pain in my hip. But then as the years went by, it got worse and worse, and eventually I started having immune system problems and circulatory problems, bronchitis, allergies, insomnia, back problems. It just went on. And I went through merry-go-round of many medical doctors and a lot of drugs and side effects. And finally they told me that they couldn't really do anything more for me, that I should go to the pain clinic at Emory University and work with a psychiatrist to help me learn to live with my pain.
Oh, my goodness.
And I said that, well, the pain I didn't feel was in my head. I felt it was definitely somewhere within my body. And I said, well, I'd like to see a chiropractor. What do you think about that? And my orthopedic surgeon said, well, I don't suggest it. I think they'll either cripple or you'll be paralyzed through it. So in desperation, I decided I'm going to do it anyway. So I did, and with this very gentle technique that they used to just adjust the top vertebra, I got up and the pain was gone. I mean, the sciatic pain was gone. Yes. And the next day, my bronchitis was gone, and then 2 weeks later, I said, I just feel great. I'm ready to have the hysterectomy that they were going to get, that two gynecologists told me I had to have. And when everything was cleared up and I had no more inflammation and no more disorders, I said, there's something here that we should all know about. So I spent the next 6 years investigating and calling all different founders and developers of the different techniques, and wrote a whole chapter on the different techniques that are offered. And many people don't realize that there's about 50 different techniques. And then I found out after all this studying that the people that can be benefited so much are athletic injuries, automobile accidents, anything with a neuromuscular skeletal problem can be helped. And instead they're getting cortisone shots and drugs, and it just seems like a criminal negligence that we don't have this type of thing. You know, we can be helped in the hospitals through chiropractic. So that's why I wrote the book, and I have a doctor referral chapter that will help people to know where to get a doctor, not only here in Georgia, but throughout the whole world. And key numbers and also what kind of techniques they like the best, which is important also. And I guess I wrote a book that I looked for in vain many, many years ago and couldn't find. And I wrote it so that other parents can help their children and our next generation can be healthier. And also so that people don't find a chiropractor from desperation, but from education, and that's what it is.
Now, you said you wrote the book for parents to help children. Now, there's one part in the book where you talk about birth trauma. Tell us more about that.
Yes. We're finding more and more that mothers are taking their babies right after delivery immediately to their favorite chiropractor. And the reason is that I discussed this in a chapter called Unsuspected Trauma of Birth. And here we find that there's undetected misalignments and disorders in the spine, which can cause sudden death syndrome, and stillbirth, epilepsy, cerebral palsy. When the baby's being pulled and twisted and torqued out of the birth canal, quite often that top vertebra, which is the atlas, can press against the brainstem and cause traction and cause disruption of nerve flow from the brain all the way down the spine and to the rest of the body. And you have all kind of neurological problems that can come out. So you have attention span deficits with children, learning disability, depression, anxieties, and if that's not corrected, later on in life they'll have more subluxations, or the misalignment will be more severe, and then you can have asthmatic problems or schizophrenic or mental retardation, and all this has been studied, documented, and even case histories are in this book. And I just feel that, well, the chiropractors are more than just bone doctors. They're nerve specialists, and I know with my own son, he suffered from when he was first born, he had jaundice. Well, you know, the doctors say he'll outgrow it, but that should be a sign to us, a sign that there's a neurological problem, and there is nobody in the hospital staff to detect and correct spinal misalignments that can cause all these problems and can cause immune system problems, circulatory problems. And that's why we have a health crisis, I believe.
Well, you bring up a good point. If chiropractors can offer these health remedies to us, why aren't they in the hospitals?
Exactly.
Nobody knows that question.
That's probably a very political question. I mean, there's a lot of money in drugs, and there wouldn't be, chiropractors don't treat symptoms. They treat the cause, and the cause is neurological interference. And I think of an adjustment as the most, I think of it as prevention in the most natural sense of the word, because what it does, it enhances the communication between the central nervous system and every cell and every tissue in the body, and even the heart. You know, you're hearing now about athletes who have sudden death syndrome out on the field.
Yes.
And what it is, if the vertebra goes even more out of alignment, that nerve is not going to the muscle. And what is the heart? It's a muscle, and it will paralyze that muscle if it's not fed into the heart.
Now, you spoke of your book. What is the name of the book so that everybody can go out and get it and have this information?
Well, it's easy to remember. Today's Health Alternative. And it's an alternative that we've known for 2,500 years. Hippocrates told his students to get a knowledge of the spine, for it was requisite for understanding many of the causes of diseases. And then not 2,000 years later, Thomas Edison comes along and says the same thing. He echoes the same sentiments by saying that the doctor of the future will use no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame and in diet.
Well, we appreciate your taking the time to document this information for us that will help so many people. Thanks for coming to Talk of the Town.
We appreciate it.
Stay tuned. Find out why it's a case of puppy love in the Atlanta area. And later in the show, learn how you and your child can get a free education.